Hi everyone. My name is Mijeev and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Revise. Today we are going to work with Anil and Amar to a demo where we show you how to build a dynamic badge that can help you flaunt your number of views on the GitHub page. Let me introduce you to Anil. Anil is the CTO and co-founder. He's been working in the blockchain space for almost a decade now, and along with him there is Amar, who's a lead engineer, and we will use his profile to show how his GitHub profile has been trending, and the objective is in this webinar we build a similar GitHub profile badge for all of you guys. Over to you, Anil.
Hello, everyone. I'm your moderator, Anil. For this particular webinar, what we're going to do, like Neve said, is we'll build a GitHub view counter, and it'll be like a badge, right? So you can put it on OpenSea, you can pin it to any other website, you can showcase it, and it'll interact with live data, and it will update and it'll evolve, and should be fun. Mia, should we wait a little bit, or should we get started? I think let's give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get started with the webinar. We have a few people still joining in.
Let's wait for 2 more minutes and 8:05 we can start. Meanwhile, maybe Anil, you can start sharing the OpenSea screen where people can have a look at what they can expect by the end of the webinar.
Absolutely. Let me just share my screen real quick. Yeah, I think we can get started. Right. So what we've opened here on the testnet for OpenSea is an NFT that we created. This is linked to Amar's GitHub profile. And as you can see, he has about 117 views since we started this batch. Um, you could use this to track all sorts of data. You could use this to track your commits to a given project, your commits to overall open source contributions you made, any kind of impact you had, and you could do this on any website, right? Like for this demonstration, let's do it on top of GitHub. What's interesting here is OpenSea gives you like the final view of the NFT. So what you would believe is that this is what's associated with the NFT. Like here's like the view count, here's the image. But what's interesting is there's like an entire history that goes behind this NFT, correct? Because this NFT is not static, right? It's changing every time Amar's Git profile is interacted with. So in the background, this NFT has been revised 115 times. So that means there have been 115 interactions with this. The last interaction was a minute ago. Um, I'm going to share Amar's profile here. It's github.com/Amar Patak. You can go visit this profile, and every time you visit it, the counter is going to change. Let's take a look at the end of the webinar what the counter is. But for every update that happens, you want to generate like a proof, and you want to generate a state change, and you want to store it because you don't want to allow for any kind of spam or any kind of scams that might happen. Right? A lot of rug pull can happen. The value of the NFT is defined by its properties over here. So you don't want this to be updated randomly. But moving on to the demo, we'll do the demo in two parts. We'll start by building a mock version of this, just so we can take a closer look at the code that deals with the NFT itself. And then we'll take a look at the live version of it, which is deployed on Vercel. It's deployed as an edge function. And every time his profile gets views, we'll talk about how the data is linked with the NFT. So Revise.js is a JavaScript SDK. So it's both JavaScript and TypeScript. So you can use it in any of your Node backend projects. So you could build an independent app. Over here, I've just created an empty async block, which I run at the end of the exercise. Well, you can start by importing the SDK. So you can do like an npm install and Revise SDK, and that should get you everything you need. The next thing we want is to fetch the authentication code or the API token. You can visit Revise's dashboard and you can generate it from right here. The next thing we want to do is we want to write the code to add the NFT. So another thing we've done here, apart from adding the authentication token, is we instantiated the Revise object. So the end object we receive has a bunch of functions on it that we can call. So in this case, we're going to add the NFT. Token ID is a compulsory field. We got to give it a token ID so we are able to interact with it. The name, the description are optional, but you can give it to add a little more color to the NFT. The image is where we set over here, and this does not have to be just an image. It can be a video, it can be a 3D object file. You can use an animated URL instead of a basic image. You can even embed micro websites now. Marketplaces have begun supporting it. The next thing you want to do is you want to pass it an array of properties. So depends on what kind of properties you want to track. So going back to the OpenSea page, what we're tracking here is views, but we could track like an infinite number of properties. So it's entirely up to us to configure it. So for instance, I want to track views. I want to track, let's say, status. Maybe it starts with a normal profile. It can become a VIP profile when it hits a certain number of views. It's entirely arbitrary. So you can pass in a number of properties here. So when we go ahead and run this file, before we run it, I'm just going to go ahead and log the result as well. So what it outputs here is the UUID for this NFT. It's like a unique identifier that we copy and keep handy. So now that we have added this NFT, we can go take a look at it in our dashboard. The next thing we want to do is we want to create revisions for this NFT, meaning we want to like make updates to it. As of right now, it has no updates, right? It's been created for the first time. The status is set. It has a view counter of 0. Now what we'll do is we'll write some code to simulate how we can generate page views. So this is the same boilerplate. I created a new file called views.js. And in the run function, the first thing I'm going to do is fetch my NFT. So I can use the fetch NFT function in Revise. And I can pass it the ID of the NFT. The next thing I want to do is wrap it in the NFT instance object. So now NFT can give us a bunch of helper functions. So this is a basic automation helper function we've added to Revise. You can set up a polling mechanism here. So we're listening to a function every 8 seconds called page views, which is a mock function. It's not real. And every time we fetch data for a given profile, it gives us fresh views. So we can fetch that through the parameter. We're going to log these views so we can track it. And we can set the NFT property where we initially had views as 0. We can set it to any other value we want. So here we are totaling up the view count. So this will represent the new views. What I also want to do is every time the view crosses 10, I want to change the image of the NFT. I want to add like a silver badge, or if it crosses 20 views, I want to add a gold badge. So you can use the NFT objects, add-on functions like set image, set property, etc. Make it happen. At the end of this, you want to call the save function uh, because everything so far has been lazy. Meaning, even though you call set property and set image, it does not actually persist these changes. Right at the end of your function, you could call save, and that will end up persisting everything. Just one small change. This NFT ID is wrong, so we'll go ahead and paste uh, the NFT that we just created. So this is what it looked like before we made this dynamic. I'm just gonna run our file. So right now we are at 4 page views. So if I reload this, the counter will say 4. We're still at the bronze batch. Oh, we've reached 8 page views. So if I reload it now, it should say 8 page views, and it's been updated a total of 3 times. We've hit 12 page views, right? So now this bronze image will turn silver because now our view count has increased to 12. It's above 10. Now it's at 16. Now it's at 20. So now if we reload this again, we should have a golden batch. So this is sort of the idea behind a dynamic NFT. So here it's called. The idea is you should be able to interact with data, and that should lead you to build more engaging NFTs. So one example could be, imagine this NFT is being used in a game like Pokemon, and you are representing Pikachu as an NFT. Every time he wins in a battle, it should evolve and it should change. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the whole point of the value behind the NFT because it's never really changing. So if I visit Amar's profile, so this was the mock version of it, but we've also deployed a real version of it where every time we do change Amar's profile, it's going to reflect on OpenSea. So it's 117 right now. I'm just going to refresh the NFT on OpenSea. Before we do that, let's view Amar's profile. So it's now at 131 views. So when I reload the OpenSea NFT, it's at 129. It takes a while. OpenSea is a little slow that way, but we'll see it change. Yep, so it's at 131 right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause right now and we'll try and see if there are any questions. And then we'll go back to how we can implement this mock example that we built but in production with real data and connecting it to like GitHub and stuff. While we take a couple of minutes to wait for questions or hear anyone's opinions around this, uh, I just wanted to take a minute and thank everyone for joining this webinar. Just wanted to try and understand like where everyone's placed. Like, have you guys tried building NFTs in the past? Are you actively building NFTs for any collection? Are you experimenting with it? If so, what kind of challenges is everyone facing around NFTs? There are tons of tools we use apart from Revise. I'm happy to share a few suggestions. Maybe talk about a few proposals that are going on around blockchains. and more specifically towards NFTs. There are a bunch of EIPs that are being introduced, which are going to add crazy features to NFTs. Happy to discuss a bunch of those. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll continue with the demonstration. We'll show you how we added this NFT code to a Vercel Edge function, and how that results in like real-time updates to Amar's GitHub NFT batch profile, and then we can come back to questions. Got it. Yeah, if you want to come on the stage and discuss it, I'm more than happy to. Otherwise, I don't mind answering a question from here as well. So the way we're linking the smart contract with the data from GitHub is fundamentally in this particular case, we've added a tracking pixel on GitHub. So GitHub now actually allows you to add personalized README messages. So Amar here has written a very generous message for us. So that particular message has a tracking pixel. I think my screen is not shared. Sorry, let me just quickly share it again. Okay, so if you can see my screen, in profiles in GitHub, you can now add a personalized README page, which you can use to give any sort of public message. So Amar's added a tracking pixel here, which is invisible. And that pixel is what is triggering the edge function every time someone visits his profile. So every time the pixel reloads, it triggers an event, which is picked up by Vercel, and it ends up making the updates to the NFT. Now, as far as how the updates are showing up on OpenSea, because this NFT is on the blockchain, that connect is happening because of a property in smart contracts called base URI. Any NFT smart contract has a function called token URI or base URI, wherein you put a URL that points to the data for that NFT, and you link that to Revise, and that's how these updates are showing up.
Hello. Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
Suraj.
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. So you are updating the metadata, right? Whenever that event is happening. Is it correct?
I'm sorry. So I am updating the metadata. Yes. What did you ask after that?
Yeah. So my question was like how the what is triggering that update?
Correct. Okay. So that I'm going to show in the second half of the demo.
Okay.
What is
Okay.
happening is, yeah. So, but I'll give you a brief right now. So what is happening is the GitHub page, Amar's GitHub page, has a tracking pixel in it. So every time the page refreshes and the pixel reloads, that pixel ends up firing an API, like an edge function that we've written. And that edge function is what's tracking like the page view increments. So that's how it's happening. And it happens on Revise. And how that is linked back to the smart contract is using a property on the smart contract called token URI. I'll demonstrate that as well. I'll show you where that fits in and how it fits in. I think we have another question from Ronak, which is what kind of data feeds can you link to an NFT? So you can effectively link any kind of data. Like for instance, it could come from an API, it could come from an Excel file, it could come from your personal business dashboard, it could come from a Google form. Like as long as there's information that can be streamed, we can effectively use that to make dynamic NFTs. So some things that I'm personally excited about, I think the biggest thing is gaming. It's going to be so cool when you can carry your earnings slash your rewards within your profile as an NFT, and it updates every time you gain new stuff, and you're able to like showcase that, or you're able to transfer that to someone in case you want to like hand over your account and things like that. But it applies in a lot of different places. Cool. So I'm gonna get back to the demo. Sharing my screen again. Right. So what we're taking a look at now is the code which we've deployed in order to make this live GitHub batch work. So we created a file called make-nft.js. It's a very basic file. We've done what we've already shown you earlier. We instantiated Revise, added the authentication token. We added a collection in Revise. So the way you do that is there is a add collection function which we've commented out here. So I'll uncomment that quickly. So I'll just show it to you, right? So if you call Revise and you hit dot, you get a bunch of functions that you can use. One of these functions is add collection. So you can use add collection to create one. And once we are done creating that collection, we can use that ID to add new NFTs. So we add an NFT here. We give it an image. We give it a name. We give it a token ID. We give it a description, and we give it a starter view count to bootstrap the whole thing. When we run this file, this will generate the NFT in the backend, and it will output the ID of the NFT, which is what we're getting captured over here. Once we capture that NFT ID, we created another file. So for this demonstration, we deployed everything to Vercel. Vercel is a hosted sort of website as a service framework where you can deploy your Next.js applications, which are full stack, or you could deploy edge functions. So in this case, it auto generates an API for us. So the API is there's like a URL there forwarded by /API/stats. That's what this file is all about. So this gets triggered using a link. And what happens in this file is every time the link is triggered, it executes this function right here. So what this function is doing, it's a handler function. So what this function does every time it's triggered is it fetches the NFT profile using the NFT ID. It loads up the view data from the NFT. It increments the view data in the NFT, and it sets the view data back on the NFT. And it calls save right at the end. Everything gets persisted, and it ends up returning the tracking pixel. So this is how we are tracking page views to the GitHub profile. So we created an empty picture right here, which is a standard a JPEG image, but it has a PNG image, but it has no information. And we've added that to Amar's profile, which if you edit it, you'll be able to see that it's right here. So that's how we track everything. And whenever this pixel loads, before it returns the image object, it increments the NFT using the Revise SDK, right? So that's how we've implemented this in real life. You can take this same framework and you can implement this for a bunch of different stuff. You can, instead of using the tracking pixel, you could just integrate with APIs from GitHub, and you could set up a GitHub commit counter, open source contribution counter, and a bunch of other badges. And you can host that on OpenSea and you can share it with your wallet. Almost becomes like a new way to flaunt your resume, your Web3 resume. So we've deployed the framework and this tutorial that we just demoed on GitHub. We'll share a link to that in the chat. So you can use this to follow along with the tutorial, and you can just set this up on your own profile and it will just work out of the box. And if there are any issues, you can hit us up on Telegram. We'll share our Telegram group link. You can hit us up on a bunch of other places and we'll debug it for you.
We have a couple of more minutes. So, well, thank you everyone firstly for attending. It was great. And thank you, Anil, for the demo. We still have a few minutes. We're going to hang around for 4-5 minutes more. So anyone who wants to discuss anything NFTs in general, share your project, share your ideas. The stage is open. Just let us know, and we are happy to call you and discuss anything more. And again, I've shared link of our social media. We plan to post a bunch of quick start guides, tutorials, videos on it, and we plan to do these webinars every week. So stay tuned on our social media to get updates about everything that's happening.
So when you open the GitHub profile, I mean the repo, in the README, Amar has added like the steps involved in making this happen as well. So that should serve as like a quick guide in terms of how to go about it. And like I said, all the code is available in this repo, and it's open so everyone can download it and play with it. But just to give like a quick brief, you start by grabbing a key from device. You create a collection. You initialize the NFT with base data. You get an account on Vercel or any other edge function tool. You make the API which outputs the image, and that image is what you will use in your README file, and that's about it. I think we have a question.
No question, but yeah, I guess.
Just a quick update. I know a lot of people use testnets to like practice Solidity programming and stuff like that. Rinkeby is dead, so don't practice on Rinkeby anymore. They've stopped accepting like new transactions. It's only now a record of the old ones. What I recommend is use Gorelli for all your Web3 practice slash testnet slash development needs. Gorelli is really good. You can get a bunch of Gorelli test ETH from a bunch of different websites. We'll share a few with everyone now. But in case you're stuck and you don't have access to any test ETH, please shoot us out on Twitter. We'll be more than happy to send you some.
All right. So yeah, all the links are there in the chat. Feel free to refer to them. And thank you again, everyone, for attending the webinar.
So before we end today's webinar, I just wanted to I know give my couple of my thoughts. Like there's a lot of exciting stuff that's happened around NFTs in like the last couple of months, and there are a couple of things that I'm personally very excited about and looking forward to. Um, so I just wanted to share a couple of those. Right, I think one of the things that we should follow very closely is this improvement proposal for NFTs, which is introducing this concept of soul-bound badges. It's fairly interesting. What it enables you to do is it enables you to pin a badge on an NFT so that even if you transfer the NFT to someone else, the badge still remains and it goes with it. It's Ethereum proposal number 5114. We'll be doing a full breakdown of this proposal on our Twitter, which will sort of detail out the implications of this, the kind of use cases you can build using it, and we'll try and get the author of this proposal to come have a chat with us on Twitter Spaces as well. So follow us on Telegram and Twitter to get more updates around sort of programming stuff like this. Okay, I think here it's 8:30. I think it's time we wrap up today's webinar. Thank you everyone for spending the time and coming and checking us out. Do try out the tutorial. There are a bunch more we've built, some interesting and fun ones. You can build pets as NFTs that change moods based on how you interact with them, and a bunch of really cool stuff. Do try it out and reach out to us if you all are stuck anywhere. More than happy to help with it.
Anil, maybe there's a last question that we can take before we drop off. So Ravali asked a question. I would really appreciate if you can mention key task flows if I would like to create a personal NFT using your product.
I think there's one question from Ravali says, if I could mention some key tasks slash flows if one would like to create a personal NFT using Revise. Uh, yeah, so there's the barrier to entry is really low. Like you can literally just download the SDK and add an NFT using the add NFT function. So it lazy mints it, meaning it's not on the blockchain, but it's within the Revise sandbox. So you can play around with it right there. You can try out a bunch of different properties. You can figure out how you can make it more engaging. Once you're happy with the end product, we have a guide out on how you can publish the NFT from the sandbox to OpenSea. It's like a 5 minute exercise and should be able to do it even as a beginner in like under 10 minutes. So you will at that point have your NFT badge within your profile. So you don't have to do it on the mainnet. You don't have to spend any real ETH in order to like get that NFT. You could just do it on Gorelli testnet and you could just do it for free. That way you can play around and like learn more about it. Awesome. So, Mihir, I think there are no more questions. So, we'll wrap up today's event. Uh, Once again, thanks everyone for joining in and see you in the next one.
Thank you.